This morning I'm going to test how bike fit I am, having barely cycled any miles on the actual road in the last 3 years. Now, whilst you might be thinking I'm expecting some terrible results, I've been working pretty hard on my fitness over the last 18 months to the point where I've lost 4 stone in weight and I'm arguably in the best shape I've ever been in when it comes to overall fitness. The question is, how well is that going to translate to performance specifically on the bike? Let's go and find out. Wow. I've recently decided to get back into cycling. 2020 was the last year that I really got some decent mileage in on the bike, and I've only done dribs and drabs since then. But like I said before, I'm not necessarily starting from scratch. 18 months ago I was incredibly out of shape and decided to join a gym and do something about it. And over that time I've slowly increased my training, and I'm now at a point where I'm training pretty much every day. And that generally consists of a few days of strength training every week, strength and resistance training. I'm also doing some high intensity and circuit style training, and then more recently I've introduced some running into my routine. But what I want to try and find out today is how is that going to translate to me on the bike, and I want to try and find a way of comparing myself today to some of the conditioning I've had in the past when I've done some more intense cycling. How am I going to test this? So I've given this some thought, and it's not as simple as you might think. What I could do is just get on a bike, get on an indoor trainer and do an FTP test and compare myself against previous results. If I think back to some of the times in my life where I've been at my peak of my cycling ability, and when I say peak, I'll use that term lightly, back in 2014 or even 2020, I didn't really used to look into the data too much. I used to ride for leisure reasons, I used to ride socially, or I used to ride as a hobby. I never used to measure my performance or look at my data in the same way that I've probably been doing more so in the last 18 months. So I had a look back at some of my previous ride data from when I was fitter, and I've come up with a segment that I've done previously, and I've done it fairly consistently over the years, that I'm going to have a go at today, and I'm going to see how my time today compares with my time from back then. Now, I appreciate that you might be shouting at the screen saying it's not a particularly scientific way of measuring my fitness against previous results. But I've had a look at my data. I don't really think there's anything else I can do that can realistically compare between then and now that's a bit more scientific than this way. What is the segment? So I'm going to be going up Frodsham Hill. Strava's got this segment specifically down as a category 4 climb, and if you're one of those who likes the stats, so from the bottom to the top it's about 1.5 miles or 2.4 kilometres. It's about 442 feet in elevation or 133 metres. The average gradient's 5.5%, so not the steepest, but the climb itself is broken into 3. So there's 2 flatter sections that break the climb up. So the 3 steep sections range from between 8 to 12%. So my personal best time on the segment is 8 minutes and 55 seconds, and I did this back in April 2014, and that's after I'd done my first big ride over to Amsterdam and back, and I was training for my first week away in Mallorca. That puts me at 364th on the Strava leaderboard out of 2,870 people, so not terrible. I'd need to knock 3 minutes and 2 seconds off to get the King of the Mountains. I don't think that's in threat today. If you look back at my previous times though, I've generally been sub 9 minutes 30 when I've been in pretty decent shape. And then the times I've done it when I've not been in good shape has been 10 minutes 30 plus up to about, I think I've done it in 12 minutes as the slowest, but I'm not sure I did that in one hit. What am I expecting? I'm not really sure. I'm not expecting to get my personal best, that's for sure. I'm hopeful that can be in the same ballpark, and if I could be in that sub 9 minutes 30 range, I'd be really pleased with that. Having said all that, I've got no idea what I'm in for this morning. I've got no idea how I'm going to do. So I'm itching to get out and get over there and see how I'm going to get on. So let's give it a go.
About 8 miles in now, and I finally got into the nicer lanes. Got out of Osmond Port through the Shell area. Don't usually come that route, but like I said at the start, I'm trying to replicate what I did previously, so I've come the same route last time. But from here on, pretty nice roads all the way until I get back to Osmond Port. Just a little bit about the route today. We've got a smaller climb coming up on the way to Frodsham Hill along Primrose Lane. So that'll take us up Hellsby Hill, and and that's a bit shorter, but it's also a bit steeper from memory. I think the segment's called Primrose Pave, so probably accurately describes what we're feeling. And then we're straight down pretty much into Frodsham before we tackle the main one. We're on Primrose Lane, wish me luck. Primrose Lane's done. Garmin was telling me about 15% gradient through the main bit of that climb, and that was painful. But my heart rate came down pretty quickly, which I guess is what you'd expect from the gym work, but it's my legs. My legs were just on fire. So now I've come to the bottom of the descent. I'm just going to get back onto the main road, straight down into Frodsham, take a right turn at the main junction, and then I'll go up and let's see what we can do. Here we go. Alright, it was at 172, it's come down to 160, which is good. No, this is the really hard bit. %, 13%. 16% through there. Coming down now. Now. This is a bit more comfortable. Yes. Bit of descent. And that left. And then straight slide to the top. My legs are on fire. Isn't it? I think the segment's still a bit further. I'm going to go down the other side. So that's Frodsham Hill done. It actually felt quite good, and I meant to look at my Garmin when it got to the bottom just to see what time I was on to gauge where I was at, and I completely forgot. So I have absolutely no clue how quick I was, but we'll find out when I get home. Just sat out at the top on a bench to perch on, a great view of North Wales. I've not really planned a route home. My intention was to follow the same route out that I had before. So Let's just see where the route takes us. Probably go fairly direct because my legs are burning. Look at the state of these, just dropped them on the floor. The lens has fallen out. One thing I've realised since I've been cycling again is that all my kit is really old. Than I remember there being. Whoa! No need!
Right, I'm back. I'm washed. The bike's washed. My son's den's fixed as well. Time to plug in the Garmin and see how I've got on. And what was I saying before about all my kit being really old? I still have the Garmin Edge 500, which is probably the Nokia 3310 of Garmin's. But I still love it. I still love the simplicity of it, but you got to actually physically plug it in. Okay, we're synced. Should be on Strava. So 32.8 miles complete. 2 hours and 2 of moving time. Well, I haven't got any PBs because it's not flashed straight up. Wow. Second best time up Frodsham Hill. 9 minutes and 3 seconds, so only 8 seconds slower than my personal best, which pretty amazed at that actually. So my fastest was 8:55. My second fastest was 9:08, and I'm slap bang in the middle of that with 9:03. So I've had a bit of time to digest the results, and I'm really happy with how it's gone today. But I'm actually really quite shocked that I'm only 8 seconds off my personal best up what is quite a difficult climb around here. That's only 1.5% slower than I went on my fastest time up there. So I guess the answer to the question that I set at the start of the video is yes, I can get bike fit without riding any miles on the actual road. Having said that, the endurance is something I really need to spend some time working on. The rest of my ride wasn't necessarily littered with fast times, but I was able to put the power in where I planned to. The heart rate was nice and comfortable on the way back, but my legs were hurting and screaming at me the whole way. And I've been in the past, I've been and done multi-day rides with days that have included up to 110 miles, but at the moment, these 30-mile efforts, I'm feeling pretty spent afterwards. And I'm sure I could work on that in the gym as well. I could sit on a stationary bike or an indoor trainer for hours on end and spin the legs round. But why would I want to do that when I can go and do what I did today, but do it for longer? So that's the plan. It's also fair to say I've been taking my fitness a lot more seriously over the last 12 months than I have done previously. And when I've trained for these multi-day rides in the past, it's generally been a case of just getting in a load of leisure rides, social rides with other people, and just getting a lot of miles in. But I think over the last 12 months with my training, I've got to the point where I'm training every day. There's a little bit more science behind it, and I'm really starting to see the results of it. Overall, I'm quite excited to see where I can take it from here. I've only just got back on the bike, and I'm close to B being one of my favourite climbs around here. The endurance is something I can work on, and I like to think that'll come back relatively quickly. So if you're interested in seeing how I can get on with this, please do subscribe and follow along. I've got a challenge planned for next year, which when I've got a few more things confirmed and lined up, I can give a bit more detail. But thanks for watching, and hopefully see you again soon.